commenced a closed session at 6:15 downstairs. We received the closed session minutes from the regular meeting held on May 27th, 2019, and Council reviewed one matter regarding labor relations or employee negotiations respecting a city position, and direction was provided to staff. So we're starting the open meeting. So I'm going to start with staff. Any additional business? Mr. Robert?
I have one for AMO delegations, request by AMO for delegations by council.
Okay, thank you. Any other staff?
Your Worship, I have one item regarding recycling in Owen Sound.
And Canada?
In Canada.
And Canada. Anyone else's staff? No? Okay, council. Starting the far end, Councillor Hamley.
Yep, I just have some questions for staff regarding financial benchmarking.
Okay, Councillor Kepke.
Comments on the Billy Bishop Heritage Fest.
Thank you. Councillor Taming, Councillor Deputy Mayor O'Leary, Councillor Dodd.
Thank you, Worship. Just an update on when the next YPN event.
Okay, thanks. Anyone else? Councillor Thomas.
Yes, Your Worship, I have a comment later on the Pride Parade.
Okay.
I brought my flag just in case you wanted to.
Okay, and then I'll have an update of a few things I've been doing as well in the last couple of weeks. Number 5, disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Councillor Merton.
Through your worship, I wish to declare pecuniary interest for item 13A under consent agenda. I am affiliated with Rogers TV as a host and co-producer of a community health information television program. I request that item 13A be removed from and considered as a separate motion to be voted on. Please.
Good, I've got it blocked off, and if I forget when I get to 13A, then remind me again. Thank you. Confirmation of council minutes. 6A, minutes from the regular meeting of May 27th.
Moved by myself, Councillor Gregg, seconded by Councillor Kepke, that the minutes of the regular council meeting held on May 27th, 2019, as printed, be adopted.
Thank you. All in favor? That is carried. 6B.
Moved by myself, Councillor Gregg, seconded by Councillor Hamley, that the minutes of the closed session of the regular council meeting held on May 27, 2018, as printed, be adopted.
And all in favor? And that is carried. And so we're down to number 7, motion to move council into committee of the whole.
Moved by myself, Councillor Gregg, seconded by Councillor Merton, that City Council now move into committee of the whole to consider public meetings, deputations and presentations, public question period, matters arising from correspondence, reports of city staff, consent agenda, committee minutes, matters postponed, motions for which notice was previously given, and additional business.
All in favor? That is carried. So we are now in committee of the whole. We have no public meetings. However, we have deputations and presentations. And again, one of our favorite tonight, I'm going to go down to the other microphone. Well, we award Senior of the Year for 2019. I'm wondering, Deputy Mayor O'Leary, if you want to come with me. You're the chair of the Community Services Committee. Good evening, councillors, and our guests and staff, of course. We welcome all guests and family and friends to the 2019 Senior of the Year Award presentation. And I wonder if we can maybe get Mr. McMillan to come up. Come on up here. Volunteers provide their time in so many ways in our community. Their insight and a helpful hand it all helps make our community better, and of course they never expect or want anything in return. Our Senior of the Year is something we present annually in the month of June, as it coincides with Seniors Month in Ontario. The work of volunteers in our city is truly remarkable, and we are fortunate to be able to recognize one of them here tonight. We're starting this evening by recognizing Don McMillan. Mr. McMillan is a resident of our city. He's a musical instrument player with the Merry Music Makers. He's been doing that for 32 years. They provide entertainment in seniors' homes, hospitals, and at special events, and I think was even busy today playing and entertaining people. He combines his love of music with a great sense of humor to design programs for the group. In 1957, Mr. McMillan was instrumental in bringing the CAA, or the Ontario Motor League Blue Water Club, office to Owen Sound. So that's a couple of years ago. He was chair of the Interclub office as a member of the Owen Sound Kiwanis Club for 16.5 years, with perfect attendance.
Better than me.
Councillor Dodd is a Kiwanian, and I don't think he's got perfect attendance, so that's great. He also spends his time volunteering with youth programs and church programs, and is still very active volunteering today. So as mayor, I hope you are watching at home. Well, that's my conclusion after. So as mayor, we want to thank Mr. McMillan for what he's done in our community and congratulate him for his years of service. And we hope there's many more. So congratulations. So on behalf of the city, we have a plaque that recognizes you as the 2019 Senior of the Year, and I'll give you that. Maybe easier if I leave it there for now. We have received a Senior of the Year award for 2019 presented to Don McMillan by the municipality of Owen Sound. It is signed by the Honourable Raymond Cho, Minister of Seniors and Accessibility. By Her Honour, the Honourable Elizabeth Dowdesdale, the Lieutenant Governor of Ontario, and me as Head of Council. So that's for you. Not able to attend tonight was our MP Larry Miller, who passes along his greetings and sends a scroll or certificate as well, congratulating you. You're going to have your hands full.
Yeah.
I have one more there from Bill Walker, MPP, or Minister Walker now. And in his, he sends along a letter that says, I would like to take this opportunity to offer my personal congratulations to you on being the recipient of Owen Sound's 2019 Senior of the Year Award. Please accept this greetings on behalf of myself and the province of Ontario. And thank you for all you're doing. I'll give you that. So congratulations. Is there anything you want to say? I'll give you the microphone. Go ahead.
I just want to say that it's been a pleasure, really. I retired early in life and had a chance to go with the Merry Music Makers into my 34th year now. And I've enjoyed it and enjoyed doing other things for the city and just pleased to do it and to work with the city and to live in the city. We enjoy it. Thank you.
Mr. McMillan, if we want to turn around, I think some of the members of the press will want to take pictures too. Paparazzi, if you ever seen somebody with cameras on your way. Nothing right here. Give it up. Sandy will help you out. Thank you. Congratulations. So again, congratulations to Mr. McMillan, and we thank all of our volunteers throughout the year, throughout our city that participate. And like Mr. McMillan, if you want to get involved in more things, it's easy to do. Just phone one of those groups that you're involved with and get involved. Thanks. Apologize to council. I don't know. Just feeling a little formal tonight, and I don't know. I'm a frostbitten Canadian boy, and there isn't enough hockey to go, so it's basketball night. Next deputation, 9B, Mr. Kafalis, update on what's going on downtown.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through Your Worship, I'd like to give an update for the past couple of weeks of what's happened in downtown River Precinct. We're looking at about 95% of the underground being completed. We still have a couple of catch basins and the sub-drains to install, and the sub-drains are a plastic, black plastic perforated pipe you'll see rolls of just in the close proximity of the marketplace. We're in the process of testing the water main. We're hoping to have that in service this week. We're just waiting for some sampling that'll occur tomorrow to come back, and we anticipate positive results. The large stockpile, well, it's not that large. The stockpile of contaminated soil was actually removed today. We decided on the color scheme that we chosen for the pavilion, and the necessary different products have been ordered. Based on the most recent schedule we received from the contractor, we're still on pace to be completed by August 31st. In the upcoming weeks, you'll be seeing them starting to do some sub-excavation work for the roadways and for the concrete slab that'll form part of the pavilion or the base of the pavilion. And we anticipate construction on the pavilion to start the third week of June or around June 24th.
Good. Any questions? Go ahead, Mary.
Thank you for that update. Can you tell me when we expect the 8th Street Bridge to have its resurfacing work done?
Thank you for the question. Through you, Your Worship, yes, we're anticipating that to occur the last week in July or first week in August. When they were connecting the water main on 8th Street, we've noticed there's some cleanup work that we have to do, some old T's and valves that need to be, well, the bolts have to replace on a valve and a T has to be removed. We want to do that before we do the resurfacing, but we'll schedule that to occur during the same time as when the bridge is taken out of commission to do the waterproofing.
Okay. Good. Thank you very much. Number 10, public question period. Seeing none. Number 11, we have no correspondence for which the direction of council is required. Number 12, staff reports from Mr. Kafalis with regard to Connecting Link funding application.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through Your Worship, I received a communication in the recent past regarding available funding through the Connecting Links program, and we took advantage of this situation, especially when it comes to a high priority road like 16th Street. We were in constant communication with MTO to discuss what the best way is to approach the application. We filled out the application to ensure that we'd meet a lot of the parameters they were looking for, and resulting in about a 90-cent dollar on the project altogether. So the great thing about this is we did allocate the additional $100,000 that council allocated for road resurfacing for a portion of 16th Street. What we want to do is take that funding that's already been budgeted for and put that towards our portion of the overall project. So essentially, we're leveraging that $100,000 into a just over $1 million project. We're required to seek a council resolution to submit the application. The thing is, the deadline was last Friday, and the application has been submitted. There was a very short turnaround on it, and they were saying they were more than willing to allow us to come, bring the resolution to them after the application was submitted. Given that short turnaround and the funds available, we thought that this would be a, I hate using the phrase, a no-brainer, but this will be the third time we've applied for this money, or for Connecting Link funding for this project, and we're anticipating the third time's the charm. And again, we can't really pass up on 90-cent dollars.
Good. Thank you. Councillor Hamley.
Yep, I'll just move the recommendation, Your Worship.
So that's to receive the report and to approve the Connection Links program project application. Go ahead. Oh, question. Go ahead.
Just for clarity to the director, if you could just explain what would the timeline, if we were successful and cross our other fingers tonight, one for the Raptors and the other for this, but if we get the grant, what would be the timeline that we're looking at for construction?
For this, even though the application gives you 3 different years to have the project completed, they wanted this money spent by the end of 2020. So we'd anticipate the construction to take place next summer. So we'd be asking council to allow us to carry over that $100,000 into next year, but look to award a tender sometime later this year for this project, and anticipating of 2020 construction and to meet the timeline stipulated by MTO.
Other questions? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. 12B, Mr. Robert, with regard to land acquisition, I think? Or is that Dennis?
Thank you, Your
Oh,
Worship.
okay.
Again, it's the, I guess, Public Works show tonight, but that's great. Anyways, this is to seek a parcel of land from Northridge Development as part of, where was it? Oh, yes. So here, we're trying to obtain a portion of land to build our new sanitary lift station. We do have an agreement with Northridge Properties or Development in principle. We look to transfer the land to the city for a minimal funding of $10. The land was appraised at $10,000, and we'll have that taken from their commitment to the new lift station of $300,000. So essentially, we'll reduce their commitment to $290,000, so no cash will really exchange hands until some stipulations in the future. However, this is a portion of land that we need in order to obtain environmental approval, and we have to seek that from the province, and in order to do that, we have to own the land. So we're actually putting this into place and having agreements with Northridge to allow us to do so. And essentially, one clarification I want to make is that I kept leading the city clerk to say that this was going to be developed on the old RCA lands. It's actually the old Goodyear lands, which is across the road from the RCA lands, but the RCA lands is where the development will actually occur.
Good, thank you. Motions? Councillor Gregg?
Yeah, I'll move the recommendation. I would just note that the lift station that is there, and I'm sure the director could speak to this, is in terrible shape. I've seen it up close, and I know the salt and the corrosion that's ongoing in that, I guess, the most northerly lift station. It's quite dire, so this is a necessary project. So I guess we look forward to this being done in the future.
Any other questions? All in favor? That is carried. 12C, probably Ms. Coulter.
Thank you, Worship. Council has received a request from Michael Gwindon to consider extending the development charge holiday. I would remind Council that the way that the current bylaw was set up, a building permit was required by March 1, 2019, with occupancy by March 1st, 2020. So this property is located at on the west side of 7th Avenue East, just beside the Curling Club, and the development includes 2 4-unit townhouses for a total of 8 units in total. The applicable development charge would be $46,056. The timeline relating to the development is provided for Council's reference. Based on information from the developer, they do note that they plan to have occupancy by the winter 2019-20, and so staff have sort of assumed that that means by March 1st, 2020, which would be within the timeline of the bylaw. In terms of options, you could require the payment of the development charge. You could enter into a deferral agreement with the developer to require the DC to be paid at the time of occupancy, or you could waive the requirement for the development charge. The latter 2 options do require an agreement to come back to Council. So the recommendation, Your Worship, is that in consideration of the report that Council would provide direction.
Thank you. Discussion? Motions? Thoughts? Go ahead, Councillor Merton.
I wish to speak to this particular issue because I have heard it said that we have set a precedent that guide making decisions regarding waiving or deferring development charges. The expectation is that we continue to follow precedent in these matters. I respectfully disagree. I believe each application should be dealt with on a case-by-case basis, each case decided on its own merits based on current information available to us. We cannot ignore several factors. First, deferment of the development charge to paying the charge at the time of occupancy puts us into unknown territory. The province has made it clear that new development rules are coming, and development charges may have new provincial guidelines in place. They may be different from our current requirements and may place a more onerous burden for rapid processing of these applications and more applications on our existing staff resources. Second, deferring or waiving development charges deprives the city of necessary revenue right now. We have a large debt in our wastewater reserve account, which has required a change in the wastewater fee ratio and a 6% in user fees this year. We anticipate that percentage may increase in subsequent years. Payment of the development fees could potentially reduce any subsequent or increased user fee percent and have a positive impact on other items within the city budget that also utilize development fees. Finally, the province has put municipalities on notice that we can expect less in transfer dollars from them in the very near future. This requires Council to continue to seek new revenue channels, place the burden on our ratepayers and user fee payers, or make the tough decisions regarding program and service levels. Deferring or waiving development charges simply is no longer an option in our current political environment. Every nickel counts. I request a recorded vote on any motion.
Okay, so no motion on the floor. Further discussion, motions. Councillor Tamming?
For the director, through his worship, do we have an idea of how many more of these are in the pipeline?
Through your worship, I really would only be speculating. The development that we're seeing in the East City area where council extended the sewer and water main in the area of the hospital, I don't think we will be in a position to be issuing building permits in that area prior to the new bylaw being in effect in March 1, 2020. But will there be others? Quite possibly there could be more.
Now, just to be clear, those ones that we talk about where we extended the water and wastewater, there is an area specific to pay for those specific services. Councillor Tamming, does that answer your question? Any others? Councillor Thomas?
Yes, Your Worship, I'll make a motion that we waive the development charge in this case. You know, when we started this 5 years ago, there was absolutely zero new construction in the city of Owen Sound. Nothing was being built here. And the council of the day looked at the waiving of development charges as an opportunity to invest in our community and get something happening. And it's happened in spades. We've got all sorts of development going on now, and this is just the kind of thing that we were hoping for when we brought that development charge holiday into place. We know that we have a new development charge study underway. It'll be coming to this council probably before the end of this year, at which point we will make a full and final determination on where we're going with the development charges of the city. So I think we should stay the course. We should continue moving the direction that we set, and we should deal with development charges in a more fulsome way at the end of this year.
Okay, Councillor Dodd, thank you.
Thank you, Worship. I'm hoping maybe the city manager can make a brief just comment of when we collect DCs aren't necessarily applied to our general capital projects. DCs are normally applied, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, if they're on a growth-related project. So most of our capital projects that we've gone through in the last capital budget didn't apply through development charges funding, did they?
Through your worship, this particular capital budget, as I recall, has no draws from the development charges. You are correct. We look at each project, and my colleagues inform me whether there is a growth-related element to that. We calculate it and draw from it should there be any funds in that particular column that apply to it. So you're absolutely correct.
And the reason I wanted to make that motion, because I did realize this happened after last time we moved a motion of waiving the development charges, that this development charges don't affect your immediate budget impact. This is a reserve fund that is associated with different columns of certain portions of the city. So it could be for transportation, it could be for fire, it could be for the library, that's allocated into its own reserve account, basically. So when we do collect DCs, the funds stay in that reserve and can only be used if it's a growth-related project. Otherwise, we are holding taxpayers' money, in my opinion, excessively holding taxpayers' money in an account and charging them for services that we're not able to provide. Councillor Thomas made a comment a couple of meetings ago about the library having a reserve budget that would never be able to be utilized unless we created unless you created...
We would have to build a new branch library within the city limits in order to access that funding.
And as we're all aware now with how tight we are with our asset management plan, with how tight we are with our overall capital budgets, we have roadways that need to be done, we have sewers that need to be done. Probably the last thing will be, I love the library, but the last thing we're going to be doing is probably creating a secondary branch to meet that need. So anyways, I just wanted to make sure that the public and the media were well aware of that. The development charges don't necessarily directly impact your annual taxes. They are collected and they can potentially be used to help offset capital projects if they are growth related. And I think that's the most important part to remember about these DC charges. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor O'Leary.
Thank you, Your Worship. I wondered if Councillor Thomas would accept a friendly amendment. I think just to be consistent, we would put a date to the end of that of March 1st, 2020. Thanks.
He has indicated yes for the clerks. Any other discussion? So it was Councillor Merton asked for a recorded vote, so go ahead.
Councillor Dodd?
In favor.
Councillor Gregg?
In favor.
Councillor Hamley?
Sorry, was this Councillor Merton's or Councillor Thomas's?
So Councillor Thomas's motion is Councillor Merton that asked for the recorded vote.
So what was the motion again? I apologize.
The motion is to waive the development charges until March 1st, 2020.
Okay, yeah, in favor.
Thank you. Councillor Kepke? In favor. Councillor Merton? Opposed. Councillor Tamming?
In favor?
Councillor Thomas?
In favor?
Deputy Mayor O'Leary?
In favor.
Mayor Body?
In favor?
Thank you. The motion carries with 8 for and 1 against.
Good. Thank you. So 12D is, I think, Mr. Robert, or is it Ms. Van Alphen? Which one? Chicken. I promised her I'd tease her before, so go ahead, Mr. Robert.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Body, on January 21st, Council passed the board and committee bylaw. Since then, a public member has resigned from the Owen Sound Municipal Nonprofit Housing Corporation and Owen Sound Housing Company. The board sent a recommendation letter and corresponding application material to council, which they considered in closed session on May 27th. As per direction from closed session, this report and corresponding appointment bylaw are being presented tonight so that the new member can be appointed prior to the June 11th board meeting. The recommendation in the report is to direct staff to bring forward a bylaw to amend the board and committee bylaw to remove Paul Thompson as a public member and appoint Alan Barfoot for a term beginning immediately and ending January 21st, 2022.
Motion, Councillor Kepke, you're moving that?
Yes, Your Worship, I will.
Any other discussion? All in favor? That is carried. I want to just take a second to thank Paul Thompson, who's been there for a lot of years. Some of us will remember him better than others from West Hill Secondary School, and he's been in a lot of years in that board and been a great guy for it. So we thank him for his effort, and certainly looking forward to Al Barfoot, which most of us know from our neighboring municipality being involved. 12E. Ms. Coulter, I think...
Thank you, Worship. I would just ask if the Deputy Clerk could scroll to page 3 of the report with the photo of the space that we'll be discussing. The city has an operating agreement for the Julie MacArthur Regional Rec Center with the Family Y, and it leaves the responsibility for the food concession with the city. Any revenue generated from the food concession in terms of the lease payments is to be held in a joint account with the city and the Y. In the fall of 2018, Council approved an agreement with Casey and McAleen Burrows to operate Two Sisters Cafe. Staff recently met with the operator to discuss their request to expand their current food space in the north-south corridor. So the proposal is to extend into the corridor approximately 6 feet. So from the pillar, sort of at the south end of their space, north to the pillar adjacent to the washroom. It's about 108 square feet, and it will extend a similar distance into the corridor as the Y service counter is. The finish would be a white finish with a wood look top to match the rest of the cabinets in the space, so it would be consistent with the space. The current operating agreement with Two Sisters Cafe does provide guidance in terms of how we should deal with the request. It requires a plan to come forward. The approval of the city is required. It needs to meet building and fire requirements, and the finishes are to be complementary. I would note the current lease rate is $600 a year in years 1, 2, and 3, and the $1,200 in years 4 and 5. The proposal suggests increasing the rent to $1,200 a year beginning in August, and then $1,800 a year for years 4 and 5. We circulated the proposal to the chief building official, and while a building permit will be required, he finds the proposal generally acceptable. Fire Services has no concern. I would note that the contractor working in the space will require insurance naming the city as an additional insured and valid WSIB certificates. The current operator has done a tremendous job. They've been well received, and they're providing excellent service. I think we need to balance this request with the use of space, kind of intruding into the public corridor with trying to create a sustainable business plan. It's not a significant change, and as I noted, it does extend similarly to the WISE counter. So the recommendation is, Your Worship, in consideration of the report and the request by Mickalene and Casey Burrows to expand into the existing corridor, that Council would approve the request subject to the 2 conditions.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor O'Leary.
Thank you, Worship. This is a good news story. This is certainly a sign of success. These 2 girls worked real hard. I'm happy to move that recommendation.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? And that is carried. Thanks. 12F. Regard to purchase of a vehicle.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is seeking Council's recommendation to allow administration to move ahead with the purchase of our new Vector truck from Joe Johnson Equipment. The cost is $643,000 or $644,000. The Vector truck is arguably our most important piece of equipment. It allows us to excavate around underground infrastructure, specifically utilities like gas and hydro, which can be extremely dangerous. The Vector truck allows us to do it safely. It also allows us to manage or to actually maintain our storm sewer system and our sanitary system, and it's used to flush out our lines and Vector out all the catch basins. The cost is over what's been budgeted for by just over $200,000, almost $240,000. We plan to make a good portion of that through the auctioning off the old piece of equipment, and the remaining portion that we can make up through the auctioning off of the old piece of equipment will be taken from the fleet reserve.
Thank you. I think everyone's already at the basketball game. Councillor Dodd.
Thank you, Worship. I would move the recommendation.
Any further discussion? I'm betting not. All in favor? Good, thank you. That gets us through section 12 of our report. We're down to section 13, which is the consent agenda. So, Councillor Gregg, you've got those. I think we'll move 13A by itself first, if you would.
That City Council receive item 13A on the consent agenda dated June 10th, 2019.
Usually we get clerks to read it. I'm doing it kind of backwards here, but...
Sure. So the resolution attached to the report is that in consideration of staff report CS 19-076, respecting the 5-year extension of the current lease agreement with Rogers Communications, Inc. for space at 1900 3rd Avenue East, that council approve a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute an amending lease agreement.
This is the control room at the Bayshore Community Center. Okay, any discussion on that? All in favor? That is carried. If somebody wants to get Councillor Merton to come back in. And while she's doing that, maybe I'll get staff to start through a quick read through 13B to O.
Thank you. Through Mayor Body, on the consent agenda this evening is a report respecting operating agreement from Mobile Food Business for Sugar and Ice, a report respecting Canada Day fireworks display. There are several reports respecting facility bookings for local events, including Salmon Spectacular, Emancipation Festival, Dog Show, and Summer Folk. There are minutes for receipt from the Library Board and 2 sets from the Grey Sauble Conservation Authority. There are comments from staff on planning notices from Meaford and Georgian Bluffs. 2 hawker and peddler business licenses were issued, 1 for the Art Crawl and 1 for Rickards Brack's Education Systems. Lastly, there is correspondence presented for the information of council. A full listing is available at 13O.
Thank you, Councillor Gregg.
Moved by myself, Councillor Gregg, that City Council receives items 13B to 13O on the consent agenda dated June 10th, 2018, and further, that the recommendations contained in reports 13B to 13G and 13K to 13M be approved.
And all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. I think we'll go back to 13H, which is Public Library Board, but going back to April 25th. Anything to report, Councillor Thomas?
Thanks, Your Worship. I will just give a brief update. One of the key items we discussed that night, of course, was the ending of the Southern Ontario Library Service courier program, and I just wanted to update Council where the murk is clearing a little bit around what's going on, and we've sort of calculated now that that the cancellation of the interlibrary loan is actually going to cost our library between $25,000 and $30,000 a year. So clearly this is a download from the provincial government, and with our budget already set, we're going to have to try to find that money somehow. The other thing that is now being expressed throughout the library world is the fact that the Canada Post mailing program that the provincial government had thought we would use instead is actually a special program. It's not meant to be a mass mailing program, and there's some concern now that Canada Post will cancel that program, faced with the idea of tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of books being mailed across the province every year. If that happens, the average cost to ship a book will be $12 each. So that will, in effect, mean the end of interlibrary loan completely in Ontario. And that's about all I want to report on tonight, Your Worship.
Thank you. Any questions for Councillor Thomas? Go ahead.
I guess my question on that subject is, to some extent, how far should the subsidization on it go? Like, if you live in the far north and milk costs $12 or $16 a bag, it's a necessity perhaps. And maybe one makes an argument that there's a rationalization to subsidize that. But this is not quite the same as a necessity for life. So this is a bit of an extra. Like, where do we find the line here between what's a reasonable subsidy for people to, like, you know, if you're in Toronto and you've got the economy of scale and you've got the bigger libraries, that's a bonus of living in Toronto. And it might be a little unfortunate, like we live in a great place here, but a drawback is maybe accessibility to certain things. So at what point is it realized that we just can't have everything they may have in Toronto and you know, incur the cost?
How much time do I have, Your Worship? I would start by challenging your assumption that public libraries are not a necessity of life, because for many people, Councillor Gregg, they are a necessity of life. There is nothing, in my view, that we do in our community as important as the public library. Well, maybe snow clearing. That's fairly important as well. We certainly hear lots about it. You know, we've gone from full funding to subsidy. This was a program that was fully funded by the province and is now trying to create a subsidy situation. So the problem, you know, the problem is created by the cutting of the funding. I think that my view is that in Owen Sound, we have every right to have access to absolutely everything anybody else in any other part of the world has access to. And the interlibrary loan has always been a ground leveler in terms of that concept. It has always given us all access to the same materials. So, I could go on, and I won't, but I think that, the public library is the last place we should ever look at be cutting anything. Again, we know in Owen Sound and North Grey, our public library is operating with the same staffing level it had in 1972. Show me another department, show me another government department that can say that, and has continued to keep up with the changing times and the changing demands of our public. I would invite, I'll take you over there someday, come on over someday with me to the library, and you will be dazzled by the array of things that go on inside that building that help to keep our citizens, many of them are less fortunate citizens, alive and moving forward in their lives. For me, I can go out and buy a book if I want to go out and buy a book. That's what it comes down to, and I do it quite often through my writing. But there are a lot of people out there that can't go out and buy a book. There are a lot of people out there who do not have internet or a computer. The public library fulfills a need in our community for everyone. And again, I'll stop now because I could keep going on, but I'm very passionate about it, and I'm happy to talk to you further anytime about it.
Okay, I'm going to move on to the Conservation Authority. Councillor Kepke.
Thank you, Your Worship. The March 27 minutes, in those minutes, the board received a presentation from the Water Management Department and a demonstration on various web products to identify flood forecasting and low water levels, including online real-time flow and rain gauge data, as well as snow survey data. They received the permitted uses guidelines on GSA lands, which, by the way, are over 28,000 acres, comprised of 209 individual properties, which protect GSCA interests, provides the public with reasonable expectations of what may or may not occur on a property, increases public safety, and provides GSCA with a mechanism to gain compliance with the intended use of properties. Under the permitted uses framework, GSCA has added snowmobiling as a permitted use to the Inglis Falls Conservation Area and the Bruce Caves Conservation Area, where an approved trail exists. And GSCA has added rock climbing as a permitted use to the Old Baldy Conservation Area under waiver indemnification of liability. GSCA is following the 3 key solutions developed by Conservations Ontario to improve client service and accountability, increase speeds of approvals, and reduce regulatory burden. Can I move on to the next one?
Please.
April 24th minutes. The board discussed the GSCA CAO and staff priorities, and the 5 strategic plan goals to be identified are better monitor and managing flood risks, enhancing current land management, supporting core educational programs and engaging public with the environment and GSC, improving water quality, and supporting development of watershed plans with municipalities. In light of the recent provincial funding cuts, GSCA has determined to defer $20,000 to revamp the basement of the GSCA Administration Center, and also defer $20,000 to hire an architect for the redesign of the Administrative Center upgrades. Staff and a committee of GSCA board members are working on the development of a management plan for the Inglis Falls Conservation Area and the Arboretum. 1,500 grade 4 and 5 students are scheduled to attend the Grey Bruce Children's Water Festival, which takes place in May, and it did take place and was very successful. Presentations to GSA member municipalities, the County of Grey and Minister Walker, were made respecting a response to the Made in Ontario Environmental Plan. Thank you.
Good. Any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much. Down to 11A, minutes of Accessibility Advisory Committee. Councillor Merton, you doing that one? Yeah, good. Go ahead.
I am pleased to report that we now have a vice chair, so I don't have to hold the fort all by myself. Chris Farrell has accepted that position, and we're very delighted. I also, excuse me, I'm all choked up. I wish to thank the city staff for an action that they took in response to a concern from the Accessibility Committee. We had identified that we needed a way to let people know about road closures that were occurring. And a sincere thank you to Sean, who's behind me, for taking action on this. We're going to play that message in just a moment, just so that the viewing audience will also be aware that it is something you can access for information. And the next steps that Sean may consider to assist us with, hint, hint, is to consider information about rerouted transit routes due to road closures on this phone extension as well. So if you wouldn't mind playing it, what we have to do is have you call in to the City Hall number first. Sean, you gave me that right number. 376-1440, extension 1511. Ethan?
Hotline. The following roads are closed. First Avenue East between 8th and 9th Streets from April 29th to August 31st. 3rd Avenue West between 9th and 10th Streets northbound lane closure only with possibility of full closure at times.
So there is more information on that line, but we just wanted to let people know, call the City Hall number, hit 1511 for an update. Based on that information and the minutes submitted, I am requesting approval.
Okay, any questions?
Thank you, Your Worship. We had a quick meeting here. The first policy that we looked at was about an asset management policy. This was a draft version that is going to be presented to all the three big committees, so operations and community services will see this asset management policy as well. We have received the draft version of the asset management policy that staff are in the early stages on and looking for some feedback. The provincial government's regulation would be that all municipalities have an asset management policy in place by July 1st, 2019. Within that policy, there are 12 guiding principles that must be included in the policy, with one of those principles being to implement a 10-year life cycle management and financial strategy that will be developed for each asset class. The intention is to create some stability and consistency when dealing with our asset management plan. And this policy, as I mentioned, will be presented to all committees before a final draft. I'm assuming will be presented to council at the next council meeting, I'm assuming. Maybe? Yes. Next, we looked at the operating and capital first quarter budgets. The operating budget is slightly higher than last year, largely due to the amount of inclement weather we had in the early months of 2019 for winter control. Obviously, as we all know, that depending how the fall goes, this could balance itself out. Also, we have a stabilization fund to help offset any of those increases on some of those uncontrollable expenses like that. So it shouldn't have an overall impact on the annual budget. Capital budget is also on track with a large number of those capital projects ongoing as we speak. We have received another report from bylaw enforcement first quarter update. 202 calls were received. 110 of those investigations were initiated. 70 were general inquiries. 11 were calls forward to animal control. And of those 110 investigations, 53 were related to property standards and yard maintenance. With that, Your Worship, I would request approval of those minutes.
Good. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. At 14C, we have minutes from the Tom Thompson Art Gallery Advisory Committee held on June 3rd. Councillor Thomas.
Thanks, Your Worship. We spent a good part of the meeting discussing the Ontario Arts Council operating grant application, which has gone forward now for approval. And there are a number of issues going on at the gallery. We have now successfully hired a collections assistant. This is to fulfill a position that was left vacant earlier this year. And for those who are watching at home, the gallery is still seeking a Young Canada Work student. We have the funding, but we don't have the student yet, I don't think. No, okay. And so, if you've got someone at home that fits the bill, please contact the gallery. There's a reception this Friday night for the gallery's summer shows. That's Friday from 7 until 8:30, and certainly everyone is welcome. If you've never been to the gallery or it's been a while since you've been there, I would invite you to come down and renew your acquaintance and come in and see what we've been up to down there. Planning continues for a special visioning session that we'll be holding early in July, and a fair bit of discussion of my attendance at the Seniors Fair, which was last week. And you may be speaking about that later, so I won't steal your thunder.
Go ahead, I've actually missed that from the last.
Well, it was quite a day. I'd just like to congratulate all the organizers. It was well attended again, and I think I talked to every single person who came through the Bayshore Community Center, and my smile muscles ached for days afterwards. Anyway, with that, Your Worship, I would move that we approve those minutes.
Thank you. All in favor? That is carried. So we're down to number 15. We have no postponed matters tonight. Number 16, Councillor Kepke has given notice of motion. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll read the motion first, and then I'll speak to the motion after. Whereas, under the Police Services Act 2019, councils of municipalities are mandated to develop and adopt a community safety and well-being plan by January 1, 2021, working in partnership with the Multi-Sector Advisory Committee comprised of representation from the police services boards and other local service providers in emergency services, health, mental health, education, community and social services, senior services, and children and youth services. Whereas additional requirements are also outlined in legislation pertaining to conducting consultations, contents of the plan, and monitoring, evaluating, reporting, and publishing the plan. And whereas this approach allows municipalities to take a leadership role in defining and addressing priority risks in their community through proactive integrated strategies that ensure vulnerable populations receive the help they need from the providers best suited to support them. And whereas the Grey Bruce Health Unit has established a Healthy Communities Partnership of some of the same agencies that would be involved in developing a community safety and well-being plan. And whereas given that the agencies required to meet the municipalities in Grey County are the same individuals, and meeting with each municipality to develop a plan would be arduous and repetitious. Now therefore be it resolved that the City of Owen Sound requests that the Council of the County of Grey take a leadership role to initiate discussions with its member municipalities in determining if municipalities wish to develop a joint community safety and well-being plan of willing partners suitable for the County of Grey or portions thereof, and a copy of this resolution be circulated to Grey County member municipalities, police service boards in the County of Grey, and the Grey Bruce Health Unit Healthy Communities Partnership, seeking their support in development of a joint community safety and well-being plan. Speaking to the motion, there have been identified benefits of those municipalities that have already developed a plan, and they're highlighting that there's enhanced communication and collaboration among sectors, agencies, and organizations, stronger families and improved opportunities for healthy child development, more productive individuals that positively contribute to the community, increased understanding of and focus on priority risks, vulnerable groups and neighborhoods, transformation of service delivery, including realignment of resources and responsibilities to better respond to priority risks and needs, increased engagement in community groups, residents, and the private sector in local initiatives and networks, enhanced feeling of safety and being cared for, creating an environment that will encourage newcomers to the community, increased awareness, coordination of, and access to services for community members and vulnerable groups, more effective, seamless service delivery for individuals with complex needs, new opportunities to share multi-sectoral data and evidence to better understand the community through identifying trends, gaps, priorities, and successes, and reduced investment in and reliance on incident response. I've also spoken to the organizers of the Healthy Communities Network, who already have had many meetings with their organization. Someone told me it was 2 years that they've been meeting, and it's taken them this long to get everyone together. But they are certainly thrilled that we're taking this approach, and they outlined that they're looking forward to working together to develop a community safety and well-being plan with the partners. So I also was provided with a resolution from West Gray, who have already indicated their willingness in a partnership to develop a plan. So that's my motion.
Thank you. So you have the motion, you have the reason behind it. Other discussion?
Can you repeat it?
Yeah, Councillor Dodd wants to know what your third sentence was there. If there's no further discussion, I'm going to call the question. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you, Marion. That makes so much sense. We're glad you did that. Discussion of additional business at number 17. I think we're starting with Mr. Robert.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Body, municipalities across the province have an opportunity to meet with provincial ministers and parliamentary assistants at the Association of Municipalities of Ontario Conference to discuss specific issues. This year, the conference takes place in Ottawa at the Shaw Convention Centre and the Westin Hotel from August 18th to 21st, 2019. AMO is currently accepting a request for delegations with the deadline for submission on June 28th, 2019. If there are any interest in applying for delegations from members of council, please let the clerk's department know prior to June 21st, and we can work with council to submit those requests to AMO. If council has any questions or need more information, please let me know and we can provide this to council.
Do we have another meeting before the 21st?
We do.
We have one before that, so
24th.
Need to put our heads together and see what delegations, et cetera, we want to do at AMO before that next meeting, and I'm sure staff may have some ideas that would be great help. Thank you. Mr. Kafalis.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through Your Worship. An inquiry was made by Councillor Tamming, I think several meetings ago, regarding the amount of recyclables that are collected in Owen Sound, making it to various markets versus being disposed of in a landfill. Based on the information received from our contractor, approximately 90% of all recyclables collected in the blue bins and deposited at the recycling depot located at Miller's is shipped to the various market receivers. The remaining 10% is either material that is too contaminated to recycle or something that weren't currently included in our recyclable stream. This means that we are concentrating recyclable products where our market still exists. In Ontario, where producers are required to pay for 50% of the recycling system, municipalities are calling for the extended producer responsibility model, where producers pay 100% to be fully adopted by the provincial government and made into law. The Ontario Ministry of Environment has previously indicated it is moving in that direction and could get there by 2023. On May 31st, Cassandra Cisco organized a trip for us to attend the unveiling of Walkerton's styrofoam densifier. The unit, which is the size of a large rolling toolbox, is able to handle the styrofoam generated by Walkerton, Hanover, and reduce the volume by 80 to 90%. They showed there is a market for the styrofoam in the sense that there are products being produced using densified styrofoam. However, based on the conversations we have with the organizers, we weren't left with a comfortable feeling that the market demand exists, in the sense that people weren't reaching out to them in the capacity that we thought to obtain this densified styrofoam. However, with that being said, it makes sense for Walkerton and Hanover because they operate a landfill, and reducing the volume of the styrofoam will save valuable land space if they can't sell their product and it has to be disposed of into their landfill. The plan is to monitor the situation in Walkerton, stay in touch with staff, and determine if it makes sense for Owen Sound either now or sometime in the future. Once we reach a stage where there's something significant to report, a staff report will be submitted to the Operations Committee for their consideration.
Thank you. Any questions? Yeah, go ahead.
I thank the director for that information, and I just want to repeat a few things out of the letter. 90% of our recyclables are sold by Miller to various market receivers. There's no guarantee, of course, that those market receivers do the proper thing and, in fact, are able to recycle what we're trying to recycle. In fact, we've read in the news about the Philippines, Malaysia, and elsewhere. Why am I raising this? I think the time's going to come when our council is asked to deal with single-use plastic. I'm not sure how the federal announcement today by Justin Trudeau, or Prime Minister Trudeau, affected things. That may make our work academic, I don't know. But I think the day is going to come when we're going to have to face the plastic thing square on. And if we are under the impression that almost all of the plastic we now stick into our bins is actually recycled, that may be an erroneous impression. And it may prove to be an impetus for us to support some very drastic moves to save the environment in terms of plastic. So I thank you for that information.
Just for clarity, the Operations Committee has asked for a report, and we'll be receiving a report, depending on what the federal government does, on single plastic use in our community and how we can look at it, ban it, consider it. So that's well on its way. Good, thank you. Councillor, did you have another matter? No? Okay. Councillor Hamley?
Yeah, Your Worship, I was just thinking ahead to next year's budget, and I think it would be really helpful if we had financial benchmarks comparing our spending to other similar-sized municipalities. And I was just wondering if staff might be able to prepare such a report and report back to council sometime in August or September.
Mr. Ritchie.
Through your worship, we certainly can do that, have it prepared for pre-budget in the fall of 2019 for budget 2020. So that certainly is something we would anticipate doing.
So that's like the BMA report, and
It's that, but we would probably restrict it to like municipalities only for a better comparator of how do we stack up in the service we provide, service level and cost as well.
get us some benchmarks. Good, thank you. Do we need a motion to ask for that? We can get that. Okay, thank you. Councillor Kepke.
Thank you, Your Worship. I wanted to remind people that on this Saturday, June the 15th, Billy Bishop Heritage Fest is taking place, and they are commemorating veterans through a ceremony at 11, followed by a barbecue at noon, and they're honoring the 75th anniversary of D-Day and the Battle of Normandy. Displays, crafts, and games will be open until 4 p.m. on the Billy Bishop property.
Thank you. Councillor Dodd.
Thank you, Your Worship. It's hard to believe that we're already having another, this is almost been a year since our last summer solstice that we held out at Coffin Ridge. So this one is going to be on Thursday, June 20th, the next Young Professionals Network at Ground Effects Landscapes in Hanover from 7 p.m. till 10 p.m. So just as a little reminder, YPN is a great opportunity to meet fellow young professionals. Now we are still saying it's a 40-ish crowd in the region to help expand both your networks while enjoying great appetizers, top-notch music, and some fantastic people. These events have been really well done. I've been really happy with actually the turnouts that we've been able to get from them. The one previous to this was in Thornbury. So as the county initiative, it's really being able to start really moving around the county as it should. So at this effect, we've been in Owen Sound twice, municipality of Meaford once, Blue Mountains once, hitting Hanover now. So it's working its way across the county. So if you would like to sign up for this, this one will hold about 160 people. The last I heard, considering it's only a week away, is they were getting pretty close to being filled up. So if you want to sign up, you can go directly to the Eventbrite, www.eventbrite.ca's website, and search Creative Mixer Young Professionals Network, or go through the Grey County Facebook page and it'll be found through there as well. But Brock, you're invited.
I will be there.
So, Councillor Dodd, I'll maybe get you to repeat that email address so that people can understand.
Did I talk too quickly there? www, those are 3 W's, dot Eventbrite, eventbrite.ca. And then we'd be searching Creative Mixer Young Professionals Network. Creative, no. Or you can go through directly if it is an individual who will be going through Facebook. You can go to the Grey County Facebook page and they'll be able to have the link there to sign up. So thank you. This is a free event, so there's appetizers there as well, but there's a cash bar as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe you just have to be under 40 to keep up with the... if you're over 40, it went too fast. Councillor Thomas.
Thanks, Your Worship. I'd like to just take a minute and thank Councillor Dodd for the fantastic news, because if young professionals are 40-ish, that makes me a middle-aged professional. That means I got another, I'll be at about 120 before I get to be an old professional.
Well, as I age, I got to keep moving.
There we go. Your Worship, I just wanted to offer my congratulations to the organizers of the Pride event on Saturday in Owen Sound, all the people who took part. It was a fantastic day for it, but I'll tell you, being there in that parade, I think it could have rained cats and dogs and it wouldn't have dampened anyone's spirit. It was such a pleasure to be there representing the mayor and council, and again, my congratulations to all those who were involved.
Good, thank you. I had a couple of things that I attended in the last couple of weeks. I went to Springfest Games banquet. We think it's about the 35th anniversary. Springfest Games are hosted by the city and some volunteers, and you have to be over the age of 55 or 60, 55. So senior games, so some cards, some different events to try and break up winter, and then they have a banquet after. So it's a great way for people older than Travis to be able to go and enjoy. I attended the Salvation Army's Community and Family Services grand opening. So they've moved off of Main Street into the back of the entrances in the back off the parking lot of the Salvation Army Church over on 14th Street. Really nice location. It's private, so if somebody was uncomfortable going there and they really needed to go there, they can now do it more easily than they can on Main Street. So people can go in and choose items, non-perishable items themselves, go into the freezer and pick out fresh goods. There's also pre-made hampers for certain families. They serve approximately 335 families per month with a food bank. It's approximately $33,000 that is donated per month in food with the support of the community, and they're very, very thankful to the community for all their support. It's 1,000 pounds of food per day, so it's remarkable. When you catch your breath and you go to these places and you see how much they're serving our community, and they have offices set up there that help people with, just counseling. I wouldn't call it counseling, but liaison to ask them about what's going on if they need help. Maybe they've got a problem that they don't know who to talk to. There's people there that can help them through with that. So it's a pretty darn good service. I attended that Sunday to Salvation Army Church service, which was retirement service for David and Donna Kennedy, who have been here for 7 years. They've been instrumental in rebuilding their church, doing physical renovations, instrumental in food banks and thrift stores and food banks in Saugeen Shores, as well as David was the chaplain and donated time as auxiliary to our police force, and he'd done that for close to 30 years at different police forces before they got here. So they're retiring. That's there's always somebody that will replace good people, but they've been great people for our community. We went through standard of care training as a council special meeting last week, which is understanding our responsibility to the rules and regulations of water and safe drinking water for our community, and it's very important. Richard mentioned the Seniors Fair. I attended Troy Sprinkler Life and Fire Safety with Chamber of Commerce for one of their Alive at 5. Troy Sprinkler sprung out of, oh, that's a bad choice of words. Troy Sprinkler, I'm just full of puns, I could keep going. Used to be part of Edwards, Chubb, Canada. Their head office is here. There's 40 to 50 employees here. There's 700 plus employees across the country. They're doing big boats. They're doing mines. They're doing airports with fire suppression equipment as well as safety equipment and writing software. It's a phenomenally successful business that's right here in our main street that I knew about, but not as much as I knew. Flag raising, pride flag raising was Friday. We now have our own community flagpole here at City Hall for community groups that want to be positive and be more inclusive and work to better our community. It's great to have raised the pride flag as the first one because it was really the activists of the pride movement that coaxed us, pushed us, lobbied us to put that flagpole out there, and it's great that it's on the corner of the property, so it's viewed from 8th Street as well as 2nd Avenue. Some of us attended the National Bowl Day at Roselawn Bowling. It's their 99th year. Some of us won one game, some of us ended up winning two. I was expecting Deputy Mayor O'Leary to maybe try and put an ante or a bit of a bet on the second game because he had clearly sandbagged in the first game and cleaned our clocks. Him and Marion cleaned, it was Marion that cleaned our clocks with Councillor Hamley and I were on the losing end of that, but it was lots of fun. Then I attended Grace 30th anniversary, so the Georgian Riding Association for Challenge to Equestrians, they're celebrating their 30th year. Our friend Jonathan Wardrobe was out there helping them with volunteer work. So they provide therapeutic horseback riding lessons for challenged children and adults. These challenges may include motor function, cerebral palsy, muscular dystrophy, multiple sclerosis, Down syndrome, spinal bifida, development delay, autism, sensory impairments, etc. So it's a really good program with a lot of volunteers that go out and volunteer their time. They've got lots of, I can't remember how many really well-trained horses that are great working with people, and it was great to see the smiles as they went through both riding and there's a great cart that they use to control the horse to go around, and it's a great program. I then attended the Attack Barbecue yesterday to say thank you on behalf of the city to a number of graduating players that are, it's neat, full-grown young men are leaving and getting these awards, and then we also welcome the new families, and there are a bunch of 16-year-old kids that are tiny that you know are going to grow up here in our community, and I think I bragged about our community being a great community for kids to come into versus some of the other places. So that's my list.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. That's what I was just going to make reference to about the Youth Volunteer of the Year, Ryan Brown, and I know he had a very busy weekend with his organization of the Pride Flag or the Pride Parade. So just would like, normally we do those presentations here at Council, and just like to say congratulations to Ryan as well for winning the Youth Volunteer of the Year award.
Perfect. Thank you for reminding me. We did do that after the flag raising, and I didn't write it down. So, great kid, really nice kid. So that covers off all of my activities in the last 10 days. So, Councillor Gregg, number 18. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just wondering if there was any report from County Council, because it wasn't on the agenda.
There wasn't. We didn't have a meeting since last council. It's this week. Good, thank you. Number 18.
Moved by myself, Councillor Gregg, that the Committee of the Whole rise and report.
All in favor? That is carried. Motion to adopt, number 19.
Moved by myself, Councillor Gregg, seconded by Councillor Merton, that the action taken in Committee of the Whole in considering public meetings, deputations and presentations, public question period, matters arising from correspondence, reports of city staff, consent agenda, committee minutes, matters postponed, motions for which notice was previously given, and additional business be confirmed by this council.
And all in favor? And that is carried. Notices of motion. Seeing none. Bylaws, Mr. Robert.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Body, the bylaws listed for approval on tonight's agenda include the confirmatory bylaw, a bylaw to execute an agreement with the Minister of National Defence respecting the Canadian Forces use of the Billy Bishop Regional Airport, a bylaw to establish water and wastewater rates, a bylaw to execute a fire services dispatch agreement with the Police Services Board, A bylaw to execute a lease amending agreement with Michelle Burrows and Casey Burrows for the operation of a concession stand at the rec center. A bylaw to appoint a member of the public to the Owen Sound Municipal Nonprofit Housing Corporation and the Owen Sound Housing Company. A bylaw to execute the documents necessary to complete the acquisition of property on the east side of 3rd Avenue East from Northridge Property Management, Inc. A bylaw to execute a facility use agreement with Canadian Mental Health Association Grey Bruce for the use of Kelsall Park. A bylaw to execute a street vendor agreement for the operation of the Big Bay General Ice Cream Trailer. And 2 bylaws to execute agreements to waive payment of development charges, one with Sound Lifestyles Limited and one with Grey Bruce Property Rentals Incorporated.
Thank you. Councillor Gregg?
Moved by myself, Councillor Gregg, seconded by Councillor Merton, that bylaw numbers 2019-093, 094, 095, 096, 097, 098, 099, 100, 101, 102, and 2019-103 be passed and enacted.
All in favor? And that is carried. So that completes our matters for tonight. It's my understanding that the Attack are hosting a broadcast on the big screen at the Harry Lumley Community Bayshore tonight. So this is Game 5.
Doors open at 8:30.
Doors open at 8:30. So if you're still restless after watching this meeting for some reason, and you want to go and watch the basketball game with others, this is a great national event, and you can go and see it at our Bayshore Community Center. So that completes our business for tonight. Thanks, everybody. We're adjourned.